After victory in the War of 1812, the United States wrote the Monroe Doctrine, which warned Europeans not to try to colonize the Americas again. Hi, and welcome to the Homeschool History Show. I'm Mr. Wesley. Come along for another great moment in history. Today we'll be talking about the Monroe Doctrine, named after President James Monroe. And I'm going to explain to you why it's a great moment in history. So imagine for a second you're on a playground and you've got something that, any other kid would really like. I don't know, I'm a little bit old, I'm not going to pretend to know what that is. Some kind of video game system maybe, something like that. New shiny fidget spinner, I don't know, whatever you're into these days, okay? But you've got that, and there are 3 bullies on the playground. All of them are much bigger than you. And somehow, by some miracle, after the first bully comes up and tries to take it from you, you manage to, you don't really knock him out or anything, or put him on his rear end, but you manage to get him to back off and go away. And now 2 things are going to happen at once here, right? On the one hand, you're going to be very confident that maybe things are changing for you. And on the other hand, there are 2 other bullies now looking at the same video game system or the same fidget spinner. And maybe they're going to try to have a shot at taking it from you too. If you can understand that situation, then you definitely understand where the United States was in the year 1812. We won that revolution, but remember, it was quite a David and Goliath moment. So Goliath decided to come back and give it another shot. This time, that was called the War of 1812. You see, although the foreign powers saw that we had won a revolution, nobody really believed in our ability to defend what was ours, to protect what we'd kind of gotten lucky. They saw it that we got lucky. They didn't really believe that we could do it again. So believe it or not, they came down. Oh, by the way, Canada, still England back then. They marched down, and they actually burned down our capital in Washington, D.C. True story. August 24th, 1814. This is the only time since the Revolution that our capital had ever been occupied by a foreign army. The Canadian general's name was Robert Ross, and he gave the order to start burning. President James Madison had to run away to safety and leave the city. The British occupation lasted 26 hours, until a severe storm, maybe even a hurricane, we don't know, we didn't have the Weather Channel back then, put out the flames and caused the British to retreat. This became known as the storm that saved Washington. That happened in the War of 1812. The hero of the War of 1812 was a man who would later go on to be president named Andrew Jackson. He won what was called the Battle of New Orleans, which showed Europe one more time, don't mess with us. We're going to keep our video games, our fidget spinners, in our country. We are the United States of America. So just to make sure France and Spain got the message, in 1823, so just 11 years after the War of 1812, President James Monroe came up with what's known as the Monroe Doctrine. Doctrine, D-O-C-T-R-I-N-E, is just a set of rules or principles that are associated with something. So it's his doctrine, like his rules. And what he proposed was very simple. He said, hey, Europe, don't come back again, ever. Don't come back to North America or South America. But not just a threat, we'll also give you something in exchange. If you don't come over here, we won't pick sides in your wars, and your Napoleons, and your Englands, and your Germanys, and your Russias. We will leave all that alone to you, and you leave us all alone over here. So the western half of the world is called the Western Hemisphere. So a sphere is something that's relatively round-shaped. And if you cut it in half, you get half of it. So again, here we are with Latin. Hemi means half. Sphere is a circle in 3 dimensions. So the Monroe Doctrine says, we stay on our Western Hemisphere, and you stay in your Eastern Hemisphere. And that is why the Monroe Doctrine is another great moment in history. Until next time, I'm History.